Who is it? What's this? You don't look like a normal licensed mail carrier. Dear Blueprint, you have been selected to participate in our new live audience program. We have dispatched an audience member to your house for a live viewing of your next production. Okay. Come on in. Wipe your feet, please. So, since we've already broken the fourth wall, I guess I'll just show you what I'm up to. As you may know, I named my channel after the blueprint chemical process, but, well, I have a confession to make. I've never actually made a blueprint. I know, right? But that's all going to change today, because today's sponsor, Cirtate, gave me the hookup. So today, my video is going to be about the cyanotype process. Pull up the floor and make yourself comfortable. Howdy y'all! Today we'll be exploring how to make authentic blueprints the same way that they were created over 100 years ago using the cyanotype process. The cyanotype process, which is the name of the method for exposing blueprints, was discovered by the English astronomer John Herschel, who experimented with it back in 1842. The idea is actually pretty simple. Some photosensitive chemicals will change their color when exposed to light. However, if you have a template in front of these photosensitive materials, the shadow cast by that template will leave its impression behind where the chemicals remain unexposed. Not too dissimilar from how an X-ray or a photograph onto emulsion film work. Well, that's going to be a few hours worth of post-processing. But even a sedentary video maker like myself can't rely on special effects and fakery alone. I'll need to actually get my hands dirty and make some blueprints for myself. So look out, because maybe I'll be giving some away at the end of the video. Also, don't forget to look in for our sponsor coming up in just a minute. So, back to the video. Next scene. But let's not just talk about how a blueprint is made. Let's make one. I have in front of me the chemicals that I need to make it, which are both totally safe. In order to make blueprints, we first need to make a sensitizer. The sensitizer is made out of two different powdered chemicals, which are usually acquired separately. To create the sensitizer solution, we mix 100 grams of Ferric Ammonium Citrate with 400 milliliters of water and 40 grams of Potassium Ferricyanide with the same amount of water. This yields approximately 1 liter of sensitizer. Separately, they may be stored indefinitely, but once mixed, they have a shelf life of about 2 to 3 weeks, so don't mix them until you're ready. Also, once I mix the two solutions together, they'll become sensitive to light right away. Also, by the way, these chemicals were provided by today's sponsor, Cirtate. For those who are curious, Cirtate is a manufacturer and purveyor of cyanotype chemicals, dyes, paints, and other artistic supplies. Take it from a guy who calls himself Blueprint that Cirtate has the finest selection of cyanotype chemicals for both beginners and advanced hobbyists alike. If you wanted to experiment around a little bit more, you could also try out Cirtate's Solar Fast product line, which are photosensitive dyes that come in more colors than just blue. If you wanted to reproduce anything that I make in today's video, everything I use is available at cirtateproducts.com. Now, I don't want to mix these two yet while there's still so much sunlight from outside, so instead I'm going to wait until nighttime. Once mixed, the solution should turn a yellow-green chartreuse color. This concoction will act just like a dye and can be applied to anything that will absorb it. The most common thing to use is fabric, so I cut out a couple of 8.5 by 11 rectangular sheets of muslin, soak them in the sensitizer until they're completely coated and take on that same chartreuse color, then set them out to dry overnight in a dark environment. Once the sheet has had ample time to dry, you can put any template on it and expose it to sunlight to generate a print. In order to generate this print, I'll use a template, a leaf, between two glass sheets for rigidness. I want the object to be pressed as closely to the sheet as possible so I can get crisp edges. And then it's time to go outside and soak up some sun. While we wait, let's talk a little history about blueprints. One of their earliest applications was by the botanist Anna Atkins, who did exactly this 176 years ago to catalog an extensive amount of aquatic plants. She published many of her prints and became widely known as the first female photographer. And her work is the inspiration for the print that I'm exposing right now. Speaking of, once I think that my print is done exposing, I don't just want to remove my leaf yet, otherwise the area behind the leaf will start exposing as well. So I bring it inside out of the sunlight and rinse away all of the unexposed chemicals by gently rinsing it out in water. What we are left with is a negative image of whatever our template was. The color will take on a beautiful Prussian blue after it's had some time to oxidize, but I'm impatient. I'll rinse it out with some dilute hydrogen peroxide to oxidize it in a hurry. Being able to expose any flat geometry is kind of interesting, but not always very useful. In order to make a more complicated print, we would need a more complicated template. To do just that, Jacquard gave me some translucent sheets of paper, which I can either draw onto with a marker or print any image onto with a household inkjet printer. By putting these translucents on top of pre-treated sheets of fabric, I can expose any shape that I want, no matter how complicated it is. Though more care is needed when exposing complicated images, as overexposure can over-contrast a print and reduce its dynamic range. But let not your heart be troubled by the woes of overexposure, because before even sitting down to make this video, I did an experiment to determine how long it takes the chemicals to expose under normal conditions by moving an opaque plate 1 inch across the page every minute while the sun was at its greatest zenith. By using the latest in computer software, this exposure versus time graph was extrapolated, which you can use to get any level of exposure or color that you want. Since one template could be used to mass-produce prints, it found a lot of viability in the fields of architecture and engineering where many prints for a single thing were needed, which is why today the word blueprint is synonymous with the word design. If the sun is not cooperating, hey, what are you doing? Close that door! We can always resort to a UV mercury vapor lamp. These lamps have a plethora, a litany, a lot of uses, including the ability to expose blueprints. With this mercury vapor lamp, I can continue cyanotyping late into the night. Even though I'll likely never sell merchandise, I want to get in on this t-shirt making business. So I'll be making some custom blueprint swag for 3 people lucky enough to win my raffle at the link provided. So best of luck to you. But enough about you and more about me, because I have one last experiment in mind that's going to take this up a notch. While I was researching interesting things that I could do with these chemicals, I came across the record for the largest blueprint ever made, which was 276.67 square meters held by Stefanos Zarski. And I think that record should be mine, so I just need to make one even bigger, but I don't have that much material. Thankfully, I'm a smart boy. I improvised. Many geometric shapes optimize for surface area, but none quite like the fractal, which has a finite area but an infinite perimeter. So it stands to reason that if I make a 3D fractal, such as a pyramidal fractal, I could, with some finite volume of material, make a shape with an infinite surface area. I have my model loaded into the 3D printer. Shouldn't be that long. I mean, how long could it take to print an object of infinite complexity? Well, it only took a couple of days for my print to finish, but it finally did, and now I can get to work. First of all, I need something for the Cyanotype sensitizer to stick to, so I decided to go to the store and get the flattest white paint possible. Once the paint dried, I needed to cover the entire geometry in the sensitizer. And I don't know if it was the plastic or the paint or what, but the chemicals just beat it up and rolled off. It took me 3 hours and 10 coats to finally get it to stick. But you know how the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Until you get this. One shape with infinite surface area coated in cyanotype. Let's see that on Wikipedia. You hear that, Stefanos? I own this game. And there you have it, the end of the video. So, tell me what you think. Is it good? Okay, good. And do you have any comments for me? Strong silent type, huh? I can respect that. Well, now for the real fun of video making, which is the editing, which is hours of tedious, boring tediousness. And I think I'll start by adding an outro, which goes something like this. Nice to see those advanced editing classes are coming in handy.